Hello everyone, back tuning in today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week's 10 days. In today's video, this will take us up to the middle part of November, actually. It looks like we could have some more chilly weather coming up. We've got a cold start to the week this week. Of course, had a widespread frost last night. Could be more frost on Tuesday night. And then at the weekend, looks like we'll get another shot of northerly winds as well. So all in all, it's looking quite seasonable actually as we're going through November, and then possibly signs of things getting even colder perhaps as we go towards the end of November. I'll talk you through all of that in a second. Before we go with that though, just to say that Gav's shop is open, so you've got a Christmas shop to do at Amazon between now and Christmas. Just click the green button that says Christmas shop. That will take you to our Christmas shop page, and then from there the key to it all is to go through the Amazon banners. You go to Amazon, do your Christmas shopping as normal. Because you've gone from Gav's service to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you are buying for Christmas. And a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Got loads of time to do Christmas shopping, of course. It's only early November. We will keep plugging this in the videos as we run up towards Christmas. And talking of Christmas, by the way, we've got the third Christmas update coming up for you this evening around 7 o'clock on the Christmas updates page. We'll have a look again at the CFSV2 and see what that is showing for Christmas. Let's get on then with today's first video, main video. We're going to begin with the Arctic Oscillation and North Atlantic Oscillation. So the black line here tells us where we've been with the Arctic Oscillations, and red lines, the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. We're currently very positive with the AO. The black line is just there. This tells us we've got low pressure up over the pole, and essentially we're keeping the true Arctic polar air bottled up over pole at the moment. But you see that the GFS ensembles are very much trending negative as we're going into the middle and second half of November. This period just here, we really are seeing a dip in a lot of these GFS ensemble members. It looks like the model is trending towards a negative Arctic Oscillation for the second half of November, and that would be associated with high pressure building up over the polar region, and that could well start to push colder air out of the pole and down into the mid-latitudes. It could be a signal for colder weather, Arctic cold, for the second half of November. North Atlantic Oscillation is very similar as well. So black line again tells us where we've been with the North Atlantic Oscillation. Red lines where the GFS ensembles forecasting the North Atlantic Oscillation to go. Again, we're positive with the NAO at the moment, but the trend is downwards. Perhaps not quite as dramatically so as what we saw with the AO, but nevertheless we've got both of the indexes trending negative here as we go into the second half of November, which could be a signal for some colder conditions. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles next couple of weeks. We're looking at the ensemble for Manchester today. So this red line here is the ensemble mean. It's the average for Manchester in terms of the upper air temperatures at this time of the year. And you can see that overall we're going to be trending underneath the red line, underneath the 30-year temperature average. So it's going to be quite a coldish week coming up. Do get a milder interlude there, but overall temperatures are looking quite cool for the next week. Beyond that, we're seeing the ensemble members going closer to average there as we go into the second half of November. So nothing's particularly standing out for being particularly cold there for the second half of November. But given what we just saw with the AO and NAO trends, I think we do have to be watching out for the possibility of some colder conditions perhaps in the second half of November. Although having said that, as you can see, we are going to be in for cold conditions really in the week ahead, certainly at times. In terms of precipitation, so a fair amount of dry weather really. This is taking us well into November. We're going to the second half of November just here. And whilst there are precipitation spikes coming through, for the time of year, it is one of the wetter times of year November. For the time of year, that looks reasonably dry, I have to say, despite the fact there will be rain at times. I mean, we're going to have wet weather in the north and west tonight, and then that's going to be pushing across the country tomorrow, associated with this rainfall spike just here. So there will be rain at times, and you would expect that because it's November. But for the time of year, it actually isn't looking overly unsettled from a rainfall point of view. Surface temperature and air pressure for Manchester, so we're starting off quite chilly really, underneath 10 degrees Celsius. That's 10 degrees just there. It's going to be turning even cooler through the middle part of the week. Then the temperatures lift up for a couple of days at the end of the week before cooling off with another northerly shot as we go through to the weekend and the start of next week. Beyond that, generally staying quite cool really, staying underneath 10 degrees Celsius, which is cool for the time of year, and increasing risk of night frost. This is freezing just here, so frost coming up probably around the middle of the week. Then we go frost free to the end of the week, and then into the weekend and next week. An increasing risk, I think, of frost coming through. More and more of these ensemble members through the weekend into next week, signalling the chance of frosty conditions. For air pressure, so we're starting off relatively high with pressure today, at around 1025 millibars. It goes low tomorrow, tonight and tomorrow, as we bring wet weather in. Then a recovery in pressure through the second half of the week, slight lowering in pressure at the end of the week and into the weekend, and then a lot of scatter, as you often see with these ensembles. So some ensemble members for the second half of November are bringing in quite deep areas of low pressure, but several members are keeping the pressure high. And I think the overall trend of the ensemble is probably to have relatively high pressure for the time of year again, anyway, as we go through into the second half of November. Temperature anomalies for the week ahead, the 6th to the 14th of November, looking like that. Going a little bit colder than average now on these charts, as it is for many western parts of Europe. You notice France going cold on average, Spain and Portugal cold on average, but warm than average temperature anomalies for the week ahead are pushed off into eastern parts of Europe. So a little bit on the colder than average side with our temperature anomaly from the 6th through to the 14th of November. Precipitation anomalies are looking a little bit drier than average as well. So that backs up what I was saying with the GFS ensembles, whilst there will be rain at times because it's November. For the time of year, it is actually going to be drier than average from the 6th through to the 14th of November, as it is again for many western parts of Europe. So quite a cold, or quite a cool and dryish sort of week ahead as we're going through this second week of November. So this is how the GFS is looking for Friday, and we find that we've got a milder interlude coming in at the end of the week. So it does turn a bit less cold, a bit milder Thursday and Friday. There's a cold front coming through here during the course of Friday, probably bringing a band of quite wet weather. Then once that pushes through by Saturday, we're turning winds back into a northwest to northerly direction into the weekend. So we get another shot of cold air pushing down from the north. Again, you see the core of this cold is just missing us. It's just running down the North Sea in towards sort of the Low Countries and Germany. But we are in enough of that northerly influence, certainly be turning cold enough for night frost over the weekend to be returning again. And I assume there would be the risk, anyway, of wintry showers across the northern and eastern parts of Scotland over the weekend as well. Then the high pressure collapses over top of the country. That's producing widespread frost, I would have thought, and probably relatively cold days as well through the start of next week. So very similar start of next week to how we're starting this week. By Tuesday, we're keeping that high pressure close to the south, so probably still cold, frosty then, and have to watch out for freezing fog as well. Up in the north and west, beginning to turn a bit less cold as the winds revert westerly and another band of rain starts to push in. Then probably turning more unsettled as we run up towards day 10. This takes us to day 10, which is Thursday, the 16th of November, when we have a trough of low pressure moving in from the north and the northwest. That's turning things increasingly unsettled through the second half of next week. And again, quite cool, really. So if you follow the isobars back, despite that low pressure is coming in and the air is coming off the Atlantic, so it's not as cold as it is at the start of next week, but given the pattern, the isobars are coming from sort of southern Greenland, Iceland. So again, whilst it's more unsettled and it is a bit less cold, it's not frosty at night probably, it's not warm, it's not mild, because the air is coming from a northerly source in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, if we run on beyond day 10, this extended run of the GFS does turn things properly cold again. As we go into the second half of November, we find the wind turning northerly once more, and it does actually start to set up quite a pronounced blocking feature there. By the time you go through to Sunday, the 19th of November, we've got a proper block setting itself up around Greenland and Iceland and turning the winds into the north. Now that's a very long way off. It may not come off, but as we saw with the trends of the Arctic and North Atlantic oscillations, we can't be ruling out the chances going to second half of November we might get a proper blocking feature starting to try and set itself up around Greenland and Iceland. Been a very long time since we've seen the sort of charts that we're seeing at the moment in November. I think we probably have to go back to 2010 to the last time we have seen the models trying to set up these blocking features around Greenland and Iceland in November. That was followed, of course, by the December to remember, that extraordinarily cold December of 2010. Now, it's far too early to be sort of going along those sort of lines that we're going to get another December to remember. We may not even get the blocking feature setting itself up in November, but it is a recurring theme that the GFS extended model is trying to do. So I'm going to show you some more charts that I've seen on Twitter in a moment that suggests the GFS is not alone trying to set up this blocking feature later in November. Have a look at the ECWF. That's how it's looking for Friday. We've got, again, a milder parcel there coming in at the end of the week. But by the weekend, look, winds swing back into the northwest and the north once again. So this is another push of cold air from the north. Again, the core of that cold is just running to our east down the North Sea. But we're in enough of it to be turning significantly colder over the weekend with a return of night frost. Once again, if this trough is dropping into Scandinavia. Start of next week sees the winds still coming in from a northerly direction, so it's obviously going to be cold. There will at very least be night frost, probably wintry showers, I would have thought, across the northern and eastern parts of Scotland in particular. By Tuesday, the high pressure is collapsing back down across the country again, so that's a continuation of frosty conditions through the early part of next week. Wind begin to revert more westerly for Scotland, so starting to turn slightly less cold up there. Then by the middle part of next week, we're probably into a milder interlude for the north, but high pressure remains down across the south. So we get to day 10, which is Thursday 16th of November. It does look a bit milder there for Scotland and Northern Ireland. For England and Wales, I would have thought probably, because nothing has really happened to stir the air up, so I would have thought even into the middle part of next week, probably relatively cold for England and Wales, and probably fairly frosty too. Again, we'd have to be watching out for freezing fog becoming an issue as well, I would have thought. Notice again, if we look to the north, whilst we don't see the pattern that the GFS is starting to set up to that point, day 10, we don't see a block trying to get going around Greenland and Iceland. We do see that pressure is relatively high, certainly for the time of year, up across the Arctic and also around here. It's not inconceivable if we was to be able to run the ECM DUF on by 24 or 48 hours, which we can't. It's not inconceivable that it would collapse the heights down here, send this low pressure that sort of direction, and then start to build pressure up here. It's not inconceivable that that could happen from the sort of chart that we're seeing there at day 10. Now, I've seen a few interesting things posted on Twitter over the weekend from sort of professional meteorological accounts from professional meteorologists. Just thought I'd share a couple of these with you as they are in the public domain. I thought, why not? So this is the CFS V2 stratospheric temperature forecast for December. This is for the week of the 12th of the 10th through to the 19th of December. Long way off, but it is suggesting, the CFS here is suggesting the chance, a risk of a sudden stratospheric warming occurring, centred towards Canada, and possibly a split in the vortex, the polar vortex, sudden stratospheric warming developing there around the middle part of December. That's very early in the winter to be looking at sudden stratospheric warming, and to be focused on Canada is quite interesting as well. That's a very long way off, and I'm not sure how frequently the CFS V2 going for that. So it's just another straw in the wind, suggesting that maybe things might be a little bit different this year. And also, this is another chart that I've seen posted on Twitter by professional meteorologists. This is the CFS V2 500 millibar height anomaly. I should say it's the ECMWF, very exclusive content, ECMWF 500 millibar height anomaly for the end of November and the start of November from the North Pole view down. So this is from the 27th of November through to the 4th of December. And it shows that the ECMWF at the moment, the month ahead forecast, is going for high pressure or above average heights to be developing up over the Arctic, with below average heights underneath it into the west of Europe. And of course that's a cold signal. That trough that's over the UK and Western Europe that we see there is having cold air pushed into it via the blocking. Let's get rid of those lines. So again, we've got the blocking up here, we've got low pressure just here, and the blocking is pushing cold air into that trough that's over the UK and Western Europe. That's for the end of November. Again, it's the 27th of November through to the 4th of December. That's the ECMWF month ahead 42-day forecast that is showing that blocking pattern. The ECM apparently running with the idea of a cold end to November and start to December. As I said, we probably haven't seen charts like this, and they are extended range charts, so they're unreliable, but we probably haven't seen charts like this for the end of November, start of December since 2010. But of course, we almost certainly won't get anything as cold or as severe as we had in December 2010. But it is interesting anyway what the longer range stuff is doing at the moment. This is CFS V2. This is an exclusive content. Thought I'd just show this. Finally, this is week 4 from the 27th of November to the 3rd of December. This is just updated. And it shows that, again, the CFS also, with the ECMWF, is forecasting a blocking pattern here, with high pressure to be suggested to be around Greenland, to the north of Scandinavia. There's a trough underneath it, and again, we'd be pushing cold air into that trough via the northern blocking. Compare what the ECMWF is doing for the end of November, start of December. This is 27th of November to the 4th of December. That's what the ECMWF is showing at the moment. This is what CFS is showing at the moment for the 27th of November to the 3rd of December, same time periods, and they do look really remarkably similar, and they are both suggesting, picking up on the idea that we may well have northern blocking and a cold, potentially even very cold and wintry start to the winter and start to December. Now, remember, this is all extended range stuff, so it all comes with a huge health warning, not to be relied upon all the caveats that we always have to put in when we're dealing with a forecast that's beyond 7 days. But it is, the trends at the moment are looking quite interesting for the second half of November and into potentially the start of December as well. So things are looking rather different this year compared, I think, to what we've had for several years. We've had a run of very mild winters, of course. Things could be looking just a little bit different this year, but a long way to go. Yeah, obviously we'll keep you updated with all the twists and turns over the next few weeks and months as we run into the winter period, and we'll see how things go. Right, bit of an extended one today. I wanted to bring you update with all the information that is around at the moment in terms of the extended range from the end of November, start of December. But we'll keep you updated on it. Hope you found the video interesting and informative. Tonight, we've got the third Christmas update. Just a bit of fun. Time to have another look at CFS V2 at Metro Seal, see what it's showing for Christmas. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.